the case turned out that it didn't involve me or didn't involve anyone who was around me, they turned that into I was the mastermind liar who had manipulated the police even during my own interrogation. And yeah, it was just, I don't know if there's been any research specifically into female, I know they've done like juvenile false confessions, and I was 20, but I don't know if there's something about being young, trusting, and female in particular that has to do with that, so I wonder if there's any work into that. But yeah, I think that's me. Thanks.
What about afterward?
Oh, what about afterward? Are we doing all that? Right? Okay, cool. All right. Okay.
You can go around again and use that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when I was let go of prison, I came home and it was it was a car chase. That's what happened when I got out of prison. I didn't walk out of prison like many people do. I had to be given a car because there was a media frenzy happening outside of the court, or outside of the prison. There was a big frenzy happening inside the prison too. Everyone was like banging on the windows and it was like, libertad, libertad, which is really cool. But there was a car chase, and then there continued to be car chases for some months after I got home. I couldn't go to the grocery store without a camera being in my face. So getting a job wasn't really an option. I went back to school and I finished my undergraduate degree in creative writing. I wrote a book, and that was really helpful and cathartic. It also wasn't the end of my story. I was still being tried. I was convicted, and then I spent a few years living life I just didn't know if they were going to take me back. So it was, so when they finally acquitted me and it was done, like, that was a major surprise because people weren't expecting that. People in Italy weren't expecting that. I was watching it on the TV. I mean, I wasn't watching it on TV. I was watching Italian TV live streaming on this like tiny weird little channel that I found online, and I was the only one in my family there. We were all at my mom's house listening to it and translating what was going on, and the correspondent couldn't go into the courtroom, the Supreme Court, where it was going down, and everyone was expecting me to either be confirmed and convicted. You know, police were already posted outside of my co-defendant's house, who was Italian and in Italy at the time. And they came out and said, they're acquitted, they're just acquitted. And they were like, no, wait. Let's confirm, acquitted? and it was done, like it was done. The Supreme Court was just like, and that was incredible. I was not expecting it at all. I was jumping up and down and screaming, my mom knows. And then I spent a whole year trying to let that sink in. I had been working at a small bookstore, the owner of which was a friend who offered me the ability to have a job where if something happened, I could hide, and if something happened, they could protect me. I started writing for a local newspaper, which is fantastic because people are totally happy to throw opportunities at you as long as you talk about your prison experience and like, as long as they can profit from that, and not really give you the opportunity to be, say, a writer, which is what I wanted to be. And so I was fortunate to get this like small little gig writing about art for my local paper, and then that turned into a weekly column that I now do. So if you follow me on Facebook, you can see my weekly column, and I talk about everything. And it's still sinking in. I find it very difficult to get out of the mindset of feeling hunted, and like everything you do is going to like be used as some weapon against you. And so I feel I'm trying to work through the process of feeling like I can actually do things. I can go out there and talk in a panel and it's okay. Like no one's gonna hurt you, you know? And that just sticks with you. So I think that just slowly building towards doing things and feeling purposeful and knowing that the exoneree perspective, as difficult as it is to articulate, is so valuable and actually relatable and actually translatable into something useful for society, which people don't usually treat it. They just treat it as this something like this alien kind of sad thing that's over there. And I don't think that's what it is. I think we're still learning how to translate it into real life, but it's as real as it's gonna get, right? So, also Sarah's here. So if you, sorry. Yeah, she come up.
Come on, Sarah.
Oh, is that Heidi? Wait, is that Heidi?
Oh, you mean Heidi?
Yes,
Heidi.
come here, Heidi. Also, let's see, who else is here? The four are here. You guys should come up here. We need more chairs.
Two more chairs.
Thank you.
Debra.
My name is Debra Milke, and I was, my son was murdered. This is really, really hard for me because I suffered a dual tragedy, a personal one and a legal one. And I have not dealt with the personal one because I spent 22 years on death row, and my total incarceration was 24 years. I was 25 years old when my 4-year-old son was murdered, and I was released when I was 49. I could not grieve for the loss of my son because I had to fight for my life and my freedom. And I was convicted in 1991, and my exoneration, I was released in 2013, and I had to wear an ankle bracelet, and then I was fully exonerated March of last year. And my lawyer, Lori's here, and she helped me, and my other attorney, Mike, they lived and breathed my case, and they helped me get out. I don't speak out. I did in February, but it's really difficult for me because I haven't come to terms with all of this. I'm really good at avoiding it, and so I do busy work to not think about it. I still exhibit some prison behavior where I isolate myself. I live in a big house all by myself. My therapy is working in my yard, and I don't go out. I have a part-time job working in a law firm, which I love. But at the end of the day, I can't wait to get home and be by myself. I'm trying to break that habit. I don't know, I'm struggling to still adjust. I don't know, all these people speak out. I wish I could do that, but I don't know if I can. I want to, but I just don't know if I can. So what I'm doing now is going to work, and I like I still like working, within the legal system, and I'm just trying to be social. And I have a nephew who was born 5 weeks after my son was born, so they grew up like brothers. And the last time I saw my nephew, he was 3. And I reunited with him, and he's 30 years old now. And I have a beautiful relationship with my nephew, Jason. And he doesn't have a relationship with his mother, so he tells me that even though I'm his aunt, I'm like his mom, and I tell him, even though you're not my son, he's my nephew. But I love him, and so he helps me with my grief over my son. I can't even talk anymore, I just can't. Thank you.
I don't know if I can talk after that. Well, my name is Sunny Jacobs. And just briefly, I was wrongly convicted and sentenced to death in the state of Florida for the killing of 2 policemen, which I didn't do. At the time, I had 2 young children. My son was 9, and my daughter was only 10 months old. And I'm fortunate that they both survived the 17 years that intervened. I was sentenced to death. I spent 5 years sentenced to death, but not on death row because there wasn't a row for women at the time. I was the only woman with a sentence of death in the United States at that time that I know of. And so I was kept in solitary confinement, in complete isolation for the entire 5 years. These days they talk about getting out of your cell you're in the cell 23 out of 24 hours a day. But for me, it was 24 hours a day. I only got out of my cell twice a week. And that was for a brief shower and 15 or 20 minutes outside with a guard who wasn't allowed to speak to me. And then I would be brought back to my cell for another 3 or 4 days until they came and took me out again. After 5 years, my first appeal came up, and my sentence was changed to death, from death to life, because actually the judge had overruled the jury who had decided to sentence me to life. And I spent another 12 years in the prison population after that, until finally, with the help of friends who always believed in my innocence, one of them, Milke, is a documentary filmmaker, and the other is our partner, Kristie Webb, who is an employment attorney, but still she knew the law. And so they got together with pro bono attorneys who've been working for me for all those years. Without pro bono attorneys, I don't think any of us would get out attorneys who are willing to work for free, because none of us can possibly pay. And so after 17 years, with their help, we were able to win my habeas corpus, and my conviction and sentence were overturned at that point, and I was released. Well, when I first got released, I tried, of course, my first wish was to get reunited with my children. Now, by this time, my 9-year-old son had a 3.5-year-old daughter of his own. And so I went to visit them. I couldn't do that by myself. I mean, my friend Nikki was like my guide through the world, because I wasn't capable, nor did I have any money, because you don't get any money when you get out if you're innocent. And so she took me to visit my son, and my granddaughter Gloria said to me, "Grandma, I know why you never came to see me. It's because you were lost." And I said, "That's right, Claudia, but I will never be lost again." Because it was really while I was sentenced to death, I think I found out more about life than I ever knew before. And I realized that I was a spirit here on my journey, and they could lock up my little body in that cell, but they couldn't lock up the rest of me. And so I actually found freedom that I had never known before. And that served me, along with yoga and meditation and prayer, through the rest of the sentence. And even afterwards, you see, I always thought, like I heard some of the guys say today, you know, like, if they just let me out, I don't care if I don't get any money, just let me out, I'll be fine, I'll take care of myself. And that's what I thought too. But then I found out that freedom isn't free. And anyway, unemployable, of course, 45 years old. I went in, I was 27, I came out, I was 45. And then I went to see my daughter. My daughter, okay, when I was sentenced, my husband at the time was sentenced as well. His sentence wasn't changed. His name was Jesse Tafaro. He was executed. The electric chair malfunctioned, and instead of dying, he caught fire. And they did this 3 times until he was finally pronounced dead. And so our daughter, by that time, the 10-month-old, was 15, around 15 years old. She tried to jump off a balcony when she heard what happened to him. So she was sent to a school for children with behavioral problems by her foster family, because you see, in the interim, my parents died in a plane crash. So, right, they had been taking care of my children. My children became orphans again. My son by then was about 16, he went out on his own, and my daughter went into foster care. So she ended up in this school locked up until she was 18 years old, at which point I got out and I visited her just before she was released from the school, and I could only hope that her curiosity would eventually bring her to me. But then I went to California with my friends who invited me to live with them because I had nowhere to live since my parents were gone. And anyway, I was unemployable, so I decided I would become a yoga teacher and employ myself and share the methods that had gotten me through all the worst things in my life. And I couldn't find anybody to relate to, just like everybody else. I felt totally like an alien pretending to be one of you. And so I found a little meditation group in a Zen temple downtown LA where I could relate to people out there, you know, where we're all the same. And it took quite a while, but I was finally reunited with my daughter when she was released. And then my son came with his daughter and we became a family again. But the damage is it's just unbelievable to them as well as to me. And even at one point, and I'm going to pass this on, but one of my jurors came and found me afterward and told me how traumatized he was because of my trial. Because he said, if we had known then what we know now, because afterwards it all comes out, you know, in the newspapers and magazines, we would never have even thought of convicting you, no less sentencing you to death. And he wanted to apologize. And I thought that was just so amazing. So the damage is just, it just goes on and on and on. And that's why these meetings are so important, because even I didn't realize how difficult it was for, I thought that the men had it harder, actually. Because, you know, when you get out, if you still can look kind of cute, you can get taken out on a date, and you don't have to have any money or a car. They have to have it. That's what I thought, you know? But then I realized that really the women have it harder because the stigma is worse. Guys are, it's okay for them to be bad, you know, or get in trouble. But us, not supposed to happen. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'm so grateful.
My name is Christine Bunch, and I spent 17 years in prison for arson and murder. I lost my 3-year-old in a fire, and I was sent to prison pregnant with my 2nd child. And it took a very long time to prove that the fire was truly an accident and no crime occurred at all. And I'm forever grateful for the people that stood up and became my voice while I was in there. There are too many that need voices and not enough voices raised for them. But coming out, it's completely different. And the time that was lost, you're never getting it back. And those moments are forever gone, and you can't recapture. You just struggle to move forward and hope that you have enough time left to complete the dreams and hopes that you have. You try to reconnect with people, and too much time has passed. And my teenager, he didn't really want a mom when I came out. He had one, my mom. And so you have that dream that whole time of I'm walking out and this is what it's going to be like, and you're gonna have your family back, and it just doesn't fit the reality. So